wrote this talk 4 years ago. I literally stumbled on an online boot camp called 100 Devs, and it was a free online boot camp that a gentleman named Leon Noel started, and on day one, 20,000 people had signed up. What I saw driving back from a conference was about 8,000 or 9,000 people going, "What in the world did I get myself into?" And having taught computers prior to getting into writing code, the teacher in me came out, and I was cheering people on. Hey, you could do this, you got this kind of stuff. And the instructor got me a couple weeks in. He put out a message that they should have coffee chats with people they knew in tech. At that point, I'd probably talked with about 2,000 or 3,000 of them. And I got buried in coffee chats. I gave my calendar link out to one person, and they booked me solid for 3 months. Through that process of talking with these folks, and I still continue to do coffee chats today, I've learned a few things about myself, learned a few things about careers, and a lot of it's been built into this talk, okay? So it's really, you can take this a couple ways. A collection of thoughts and ideas, and I may not go into as much depth with stories because I don't have as much time as I normally would have, but at the end of the day, it's advice. You can take it, you can leave it, you can turn it on its head. You're not going to insult me if you don't take my advice. That's okay. It's not for everybody. You got to use what's right for you. I've had people take the advice and go the complete opposite direction, and it works for them. Okay. See, where'd my mouse go? Oh, mouse over here. Good. So, history, background teaching, got that. About the last, 13 plus, it's now 14 plus years front-end developer. Worked with 100 Devs Bootcamp. 700 plus is now closer to 1,200 plus coffee chats. Each of those about an hour long. And really, over the years up until the last 4, I really did almost nothing to actively manage my career. When I left one job, for better or worse, I was then hunting for the next job. There was no planning, there was no organization, there really wasn't any thought to it. Through these coffee chats, I started to delve into some things. This talk is kind of geared at 3 levels. First of those, looking at early career, where you need a focus in social media, you're looking for the right job, you're looking for the right company. You're starting to build that group of connections, okay? Mid-career, I have a lot of folks in mid-career that I talk with that are switching. Social media is still important. May not have found the right job, right company yet. So I'm talking to people what that means to them. They usually have a little more idea of what that means because you've worked someplace, right? And then connections. And here, a lot of times what I see people miss, I'm going to go into this in a little more depth later, is in connections, connecting to more than just within your company, connecting to people outside your organization. When you leave that job, it's one thing to have these strong connections within your company, but they're not helping much when you're trying to find a job at another company, right? I mean, they're still at the company you were with. I was bad about that. I was horrible about that one. Late career, again, social media comes into play, and what I see here on late career a lot of times is less understanding of how to use social media, for one, right? The way I usually explain this to people is when I started that journey 4 years ago on Twitter, I literally had 17 people that followed me. 3 of those are my wife, okay? And I'm now pushing 10K, and this is not by being some social media mogul, anything like this. I'm still not all that good at it. This is by chatting with people and supporting people and cheering people on. Okay, there's a lot of that, I do a little bit every day, and it adds up. And late career, what I see a lot of times as well is they've been at a company a long time. Now they want to do something else. So right job, right company means something completely different, right? When I got somebody that I'm talking to that's been 35 years on the same job, do you really, in most cases when I talk to those folks, the first question is, do you really want to do that for the next 20? And oftentimes, and more often than not, it's no. I want to find something else to do, something that I have fun doing, that I'm interested in. You stay there because the paycheck's good, because you're pushing into retirement and those kind of things. But there's a shift in directions. Well, a lot of the advice that I see, that I've seen recently has been along the lines of build things. And this is important, okay? It's not critical, but it is important. Part of building things and building in public and those kind of things is letting people know who you are, let people know what you do. Now, I will say that you have to be careful with building things. Because one of the things I'll get a lot of times is, oh, let's go look at this project that you built. And it's okay to let them see the project, right? They give you something you want to target and build, or that kind of stuff, or you've built something that they want to look at, but you got to be careful with it. Because I watched a lot of people lose out on opportunities because they weren't prepped ahead of time. So by this, I mean things like, you built this project, make sure you got your local version spun up before the interview. Because the first failure is, we go out and we follow your domain name, and guess what? It's not working. Oh, if you're not prepped and ready ahead of time, what happens? Well, let's go to your repo and look at your code. Here's where the failure happens, right? This seems odd. We're in tech. But the absolute last thing you want an interviewer to do is look at your code. Okay? Some people like 2 spaces. Some people like 4. We argue about this. Some people like tabs versus spaces. Some people put the squiggly bracket, the opening squiggly bracket on the same line. Some put it on the next line, back and front end. There are all kinds of things we can argue about, right? When they look at your code, they don't see the good stuff you put in there. They see the differences between what they expect your code to be. Okay, so the absolute last thing you want is people to look at your code. So have that spun up, ready to go, ready for failure, right? Oh, it's not working there. Let me share my screen and show you on my machine, right? Don't let them get to your code if it's at all possible, okay? Again, this goes into projects a little bit more, but as you build those projects, make sure you're looking at doing the right things with your repository, right? Use proper branching. We do this at work all the time, right? Build out the wiki notes, build out the project board, have markdown files, have the things documented, have pipelines, have unit tests, right? I have looked at enough repos over time, I can tell almost immediately if you're pushing your code to main all the time. I do it. My projects, right? But if it's one I'm serious about, I want to do it right. I want to branch. I want to merge that in. I want to do things properly, right? If you get to that point, potentially there's a fallback as they come into your repo that they see enough there. They don't have to dig to the code level, right? Had a young lady a while back that went through and they looked and there were no unit tests. And they pointed that out. And she said, oh, go take a look at the README. And scroll down on the README, and here's this list of to-dos. And one of those, unchecked, was write unit tests. Learn how to do them. Because she had that on there, she passed the interview. She had that awareness of it. She showed that awareness of what she still needed to do. It was documented as a part of that process. Portfolios. Beginning to wonder about the value of a portfolio to a degree, okay? But at the bottom line, a portfolio needs to be selling you, okay? But think about who you sell it to. Almost every portfolio I look at, almost every single one, I think I've seen one that was right, sells to other developers. These are the tools I use. These are the projects I built. These are the things I do as a developer, right? Who are we selling to? We're selling to recruiters and hiring managers that don't write code, right? You want to tell your story in there. Yes, you can have the projects, you can have the code that you work in. Put that lower down the list. Tell your story of how you got there first, right? You have a hero section at the top generally. That's what you use it for, right? I got into writing code because I started when I was 10 years old and I love writing code. I didn't write code right away in my career. I went into teaching computers first. 30 years in, I had a chance to write some code and I fell back in love with writing code. That's a story, right? That's my story. It's a real one. You can hear the passion in it, right? Show it. Here's what gets tricky, resume ATS. How many know what ATS stands for? Applicant Tracking System. Okay, so when you file an application, about 50% of the time it goes into an applicant tracking system. Most people don't know how they work. I didn't know how they work till I talked to some recruiters. Okay, really simple. Really simple. They track everything. You don't get kicked out. Nobody gets kicked out right away. Right? You get that email back really quick because something's not matching. What does it match? Well, ask recruiters this. It matches keywords. So if I spell front end with no space, and on the job application they had a space in there, those keywords don't match. I'm going to be lower down the list. You've got probably 100 keywords on every job position. You need to make sure those are on the resume and spelled the way they spell it. Plain and simple. That puts you higher on the list. The other weird quirk to these that puts you higher on the list is it does not sort the grouped percentage by last name first, which is how I would put it as a developer. I'm a front-end developer. That was my first thought. It was wrong. They sort it by when you applied. So the earlier you apply, the closer your application is to the job posting in terms of keywords, the higher you are in the list. Okay, there's a little Google search pattern. Anybody wants to get back with me later, I can give you the Google search pattern. I probably need to put it on the slide at some point. That can help you target in closer, and you can filter by date time on Google that lets you apply early. Don't use LinkedIn. Don't use other sites to do the quick, easy apply. They're not working. The odds are far against you doing that route. Networking is the route you want to go. Watching my time. LinkedIn. I did say don't be posting on LinkedIn, but I didn't say don't use LinkedIn. It's prime real estate to sell you, right? You've got a banner at the top. Don't leave it that gray box. Put a picture in there. Had a young man that had this beautiful picture of himself skydiving. It was a 360 of these mountains as he was skydiving. Panoramic, beautiful. Doesn't say much about being a developer. I told him, keep the picture, put your name out there, put developer. Now it says you're a developer. Okay? Mine has this big circuit thing, and it's kind of cool looking, but it doesn't have to be that. Picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Start there. Use the same banner, same photo on all of your social media. Photo needs to be simple, nothing really to worry about there. Tagline, tell them what you want. You don't want a tagline that says full stack, front end, back end developer. What do you want to do? Right? Do you want to be one or the other? They don't want you taking the job and switching to something else. They're hiring you for that job, right? The about. The about. Sell yourself. How many have heard the phrase above the fold? Nobody. Good. I like this. New stuff. Old newspaper days. You've seen the movies with a newspaper stand, right? Big stack of newspapers. They're folded in half. Above the fold is the top half. Top half is where they have the picture, they have the color, they have the banner, because that's what you see first. Right? On web pages, it became what's off the screen. The about on your LinkedIn, if you go long enough, you get a see more button pops up. Assume nobody reads anything up to the see more. That is your point to sell. Why am I the best fit for the type of job I'm applying for? Right? Ties right to that tagline. You sell you. This isn't why I became a computer programmer. It's why am I the best fit? Person with the perfect set of skills is not always the best fit. That's an interesting one to take into account, okay? Featured section, you decide what goes there, but use it. Activity, you should be posting at least weekly and something with content. So that you're opening conversations, you're starting things up, you continue that networking, that movement. They need to see you. Experience, industry standard terms. My current job lists me as a senior solutions developer. Nobody knows what that is in the industry, right? If I said I'm a senior programmer, senior developer, senior engineer, you guys know what that is, right? If I leave my company, I'm changing the term, okay? Skills. You have a skills section. You need endorsements. Doesn't matter if it's somebody you worked with at McDonald's or somebody you worked with in college or somebody you're working with now. You need endorsements on skills. Okay, if they do a search for your exact skill set, you don't have any endorsements, but you have the skills, and somebody has dozens and he has the same set of skills, he's going to be in front of you, right? Get those endorsements. Easy to do. You endorse other people, they get a little notification that says, hey, do you want to endorse so-and-so? Okay, and right along with that, recommendations. About half the people I talk to don't even realize there's a recommendation options on LinkedIn. Write them for other people. You write 10, you get about 5 back. What do you write? Well, I got this manager, I know his job title. I'm going to go on LinkedIn, I'm going to search that job title. I'm going to open a whole bunch of those, and I'm going to go down those tabs. And when I find somebody that's got like 30 recommendations on there, I'm going to start reading. Do any of those sentences sound like the person I'm writing it for? Copy, paste. Another one, copy, paste. Make it into a paragraph, done. Don't reinvent the wheel, easy to do. Write them, they'll write them back for you, okay? Every time I switch jobs, leave jobs, I write them for people. As they write them back, I've probably got 40, 50, okay? Some things to consider, there's a Social Saturday trend that's going around. These gives you links. There's no substance to it. These are people that connect to you, but you never talk. There's no value to that. I have somebody on my LinkedIn from like 19 years ago that I connected to. I have no idea why. He's an accountant in Austria that I've never had a chat with at all. Lord knows why we connected. I don't know. Doesn't do me any good. Okay? Posting into groups. If you're in a group, the JavaScript group I think is like 2 million people. The Microsoft group is like 14 million people. If your post is about Microsoft, maybe you post into that group. Bigger exposure, more exposure. Now, people in your feed can still see it. They can't necessarily always post on it if that group, you have to be accepted into that group, okay? Things to consider there. Twitter, get people all the time, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Get people all the time for whatever reasons. Don't believe that they should be on there. Here's the thing, there's a extremely strong tech community on Twitter, okay? Go look for 100 devs, go look for 100 days of code, go look for build in public, they're out there, right? Get into that community, support that community, because by supporting that community, they're supporting you, okay? Most of the recruiters I talk to don't find people on LinkedIn. They find them in other places, like Twitter X, okay? Be out there, be active. Connections. How do we connect? What do we ask? Okay, how do we connect? Well, first one I usually see people do, and for some people it works, is you pay for a LinkedIn account, and then you can send emails in mails to whoever you want. Doesn't limit you, okay? It's cold calling, right? We all get those calls that we hate, right? Send it straight to your voicemail, right? There's no value in that. There's very little value in that. There can be in some scenarios. However, what I usually recommend, find people you're looking for at the companies you're looking for, in the jobs you're looking for, that post actively. There's always somebody. There's people like myself that you might want to connect to that are active on social media, right? Open up 10 people from the company you're targeting. Here's the one that's active. I'm going to reply to his posts. I'm going to start conversations. Not just, hey, this is cool. What if we did this? What if we tried that? Start a conversation somehow, right? You're warming up that connection after you get about 5 or 6 of those. Really simple phrase. How about we connect and chat? Now, of the people that connect to me via that phrase, how many do you think I don't have a chat with? In 4 years, it's been 3 people. 2 of them, English was a second language, and they didn't think they could hold the conversation. I get that one. One went a little off the rails and thought I was trying to sell them something. I'm not sure where that came from, but it is. We're now not seeing each other. Okay? You're telling your story in this. You need to active listen in this. You know, basic stuff there. I'm not going to dig in too deep there because we've got time constraints. Interview types, okay, we're going to kind of leave that alone for now. We don't really have time to dig too deep into that. There are various types of interviews. Make sure you know the various types and what you're going in for on an interview. The job search itself, there's a wonderful book out there called The 2-Hour Job Search. There it is, top left, that talks about different ways. Oh, here's the search pattern you wanted. With the Google one I talked about, that's it. Okay. My phone will actually take that text and convert it, so if you get it up there right, you can probably capture that. It works really well. But the 2-Hour Job Search is a really good book. One of the things that it recommends, and I recommend it too, is track down 60 companies that you want to work for. Big number, 60. And everybody I tell this to, the first thought is, that's insane. Who's going to do that? Right? And what I tell people is, you don't just track down 60 companies, you're tracking down 60 companies and you're looking at their values. This is an important piece. Their values. Right? Once you know your values in relation to companies, because you're going to be looking at 60 of them, so you're going to figure out what your values are. Now you have a way to organize that list of 60. Who are my top? Who are my bottom? Here's where I work in the top companies. I strategically network there. Right? I focus time on making those connections there. If I come to this event and one of those companies is here, I'm over talking to them, making sure they know who I am. I've been doing this now for 4 years. I have recruiters calling me saying, hey, Bob, I know you're not leaving Leading Edge. Let's talk. If anything ever changes, I want to be there. Nice to have about a dozen of those in your hip pocket, right? And that alleviates a lot of stress in this kind of a job market, okay? So, first place you start your job search. Okay, we talked about cold calling, no big deal there. Some people are very good at it. It actually does work in some scenarios. Let's talk about that. How much time do I have? Oh, a couple minutes, okay. I have a young man in India who is absolutely the worst interviewer I've ever met. He knows that, he'll tell you. But man, he could book a dozen to 2 dozen interviews a week, and I couldn't figure out how. Now, I understand there are cultural differences, and when you connect with me, you're not jumping out saying, hey, I want a job at your company, I need help. In India, this is what he's explaining to me, they do want you to be a little more blunt. Why are you connecting with me? I'm looking for work, I want to work for your company. Get that. But here's what he was doing. Every job he applied for, he's connecting to the CEO, he's sending an email to the CTO, to the hiring managers, to all the recruiters at the company, and every developer he could find for every job he posted. And he was blunt. I need a job. This is why I'm sending you this email. Terrifies me to try to think about doing that, but it worked for him. So cold calling can work in the right circumstances, okay? Network in the right places, okay? You got to be networking in the right place, right? Just general networking, yeah, could work. You don't know where the job's going to come from. But if I'm networking in the top 10 companies that I'm interested in, where the values fit really well, I got better odds of being in a company that I'm going to like. I mean, simple math there, right? I like this one. And yes, I paid to put this into the talk. Got a link in there somewhere. What is this? Oh, more networking stuff. Okay, so we're beating networks to death. Relationships, right? You have to have real conversations. I try to actively, when I connect with people on LinkedIn, anybody here that's connected with me on LinkedIn at the conference can tell you that I'm sending a message immediately, right? Many, I'm giving them my calendar link so we can talk down the road. I try and engage and keep those conversations moving, at least start it, right? Somebody connects you with a LinkedIn, how many of them would just ignore? I ignored almost all of them, okay? So looking back, right, if I had to, get a job as quick as possible, right? Referrals. I need that emergency network in place. I need people that will advocate for me, that are screaming to the owners of the company going, we need this guy on board. I've seen what he can do. This is somebody we need. Let them create that job for me if they have to, right? Domain search. I don't want to be applying for a job at a chemistry company. I worked at Chemical Abstracts, helping them build some products over the years. I almost burned down the chemistry lab in high school. That's not my domain of expertise. Okay, I need to be in that domain. I get people all the time, I'm transferring in from such and such an industry. Well, look for a job in that industry. I have a woman I've been talking with recently who worked for the IRS, wants to become a programmer. Why not write IRS software? Lots of companies have software out there, right? Focus it. Cold emails, maybe. You know, and worst case is the tried and true, you're applying to a job. Rough way to do it, okay? So I don't think we have time for questions. So if you have questions, we're going to move down the hallway. The left one is a survey of me. So if you want to talk about the talk, I'm the only one that gets the information. And the right one is actually this talk, but I think they have the same slide deck for the conference that you'll be getting a link on afterwards. Okay, so questions we'll take outside because I want to let next people set up their stuff. Okay.